oh, you're a gay Asian woman with an Australian accent. Like, wow, what? Like, yes. And my dad has said that his whole life. Right. He's always like, if you want something done, ask the busiest person.
And now he's like, I told you so.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't seem very impressed.
Yeah.
There's a bit of change happening at the institutional level, and obviously you're quite big in the advocacy space as well. Do you feel like the studios are sort of heading towards that direction too?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Hollywood Diversity Report, for example, has proven year after year that there is a business case for diversity. I definitely think that is sort of one argument and one angle to take. In Australia, there's sort of like the argument that if we are getting government funds to create something, and most free-to-air or even streaming now productions get some government funding, Screen Australia funding or the state funding, that is taxpayers' money, and that should be stories that represent Australia, and the whole of Australia. I definitely think the studios and larger players are seeing it as an opportunity now and sort of going, okay, let's jump on that bandwagon, and I've just gotten to the point where I'm just like, great. Like, if you think it's a bandwagon and you want to jump on, just jump on. That's great, and we will take advantage of it, and we will show you and do the work, do the hard work, and create good work. Because I think the other massive thing that happens is, I remember working on a play that had, and it's never been produced, it had a lot of development funds, and I remember saying to this playwright, I won't tell you who they are, if you stuff this up, there's never going to be another Asian play for about 10 years, right? Because there was at that time, there was nothing, and it was like, and this playwright has since had a lot of success, and written all these other plays, Asian plays. And there's been lots of other playwrights as well who have created work, mainly because of Annette Chenois, the founder of, it's now CARP, Contemporary Asian Australian Performance, and they used to be called Performance 4A. She has single-handedly, you should interview her. Okay. She's great. She has single-handedly changed the landscape, I think, and created the Lotus program with Playwriting Australia, where it was Asian writers, teaching them how to be playwrights. And so a lot of playwrights came out of that program. So yeah, it has changed a lot. But at that time, I remember just, feeling that pressure and just going, there is no chance to fail. There are heaps of not great work out there, made by the majority, the dominant kinds who make that work. And we all just go, oh, that's not very good. And then they get another chance to make it. But, there's an extra microscopic look at work from diverse artists to go, is it any good? But we've done it now. We've done one version of it. And that either did really well or didn't do very well. And if it didn't do very well, then we can't take that risk again, But how are you meant to develop your craft? How are you meant to grow and create more work? Any great artist that you've seen has done crap work in the past. Nobody comes out of the womb a genius. And maybe there are some, but I don't know. For most people, they have to work really hard to become good. So we also have to allow people to do not very good work, to fail and give them more chances until they develop. Hopefully, the studios are starting to realize that as well, and that will change and allow more diverse work of really great quality, which is starting to come through now.
Yeah, because the way most people view the studios is that they are quite commercially driven. They focus on box office and the numbers. But if there's a business case for it and they're starting to get on top of this whole bandwagon, starting to be more open to the dialogue, I think maybe that's generally a good sign for the industry as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's your best hope for the industry moving forward, say in the next 5-10 years?
I think there's been some great steps forward in terms of gender, and again, still a long way to go. Screen Australia just released some statistics on particularly the number of directors and writers who are women was tragically low. So there's still a long way to go, but the fact that there is a Gender Matters task force, which I'm on at the moment, and that we're kind of going, what can we do to create more gender parity? Having said that, this happened a long time ago as well. We seem to go in cycles where there's a big push and then it disappears. So my hope for the next 5 years or so is that this push somehow becomes embedded in a way that can't disappear again, and that we think intersectionally when we do this stuff. So if it is, a gender target, that we're also kind of going, okay, well, within that gender target, what is the diversity of that? Are there any people from diverse, are there any with a disability? Are there any from queer backgrounds? Are there any non-binary? Are there any female identifying trans stories? Are really we have very few of those stories as well. My hope is that we think intersectionally and that we constantly are asking ourselves the whatabouts, so that we don't get lazy in our thinking and we don't, by increasing and boosting one thing, subjugate another group, that we're constantly thinking really widely, and that it becomes then a truly diverse and exciting and creative industry to be in. Really interestingly, with Crazy Rich Asians, there was a bit of backlash about that for having not very much South Asian representation in the film. So it was all East Asian representation. They were like, if you look at the demographics of Singapore, there are a lot of South Asians there. So why were they not visible in the film? And I was like, yeah, interesting point. I would not have thought of that. But now that I've read it, you kind of think, if we are going to be diverse and inclusive, and what we're saying is, hey, we're making a Crazy Rich Asians and this is really important, maybe we can do better. Maybe we can kind of go, okay, we also have been in that situation where we haven't seen ourselves represented. So, yep, this is our story. We're telling it through our lens. How can we be inclusive in this process, and make sure that we're not doing to others what has been done to us, So yeah, I definitely think there is an issue elsewhere as well, but I only really know the Western lens of it. There is an interesting situation now in terms of cultural appropriation. The disability community have a saying, which is nothing about us without us. So don't tell my story unless you have lived experience of it. Don't try and speak for me. I agree with that at this stage, when certain stories haven't been told at all, or all we've seen is an able-bodied lens of disability, then it's absolutely crucial that disabled people can tell their own stories. I think where there needs to be a separation, though, of opportunity versus storytelling at some stage. So, for example, when there is a role that is a disabled character, if people with a disability don't get the opportunity to audition for that role, when are they going to get to audition? So that, it's so frustrating to see able-bodied actors in those roles because, and then they say oh, it's the best person for the job. They have incredible craft and so they get the role. But how are those actors with disabilities going to upskill and get to that stage if they don't even get the opportunity when it's their own self, let alone going for other characters where the ability of the character isn't specified. At this current point in time, the question of opportunity for people from diverse backgrounds is slightly different to the cultural appropriation argument because that's more about power and kind of going, we are taking your story and we're culturally appropriating it and we're using it for our own benefit. My utopian kind of dream of intersectionality and kind of going, we can tell stories that in collaboration and consultation, although make sure you pay them if you're using them as consultants, to create really, really diverse, kind of stories. Those conversations often get really conflated. To help the industry be more diverse, we do need to kind of look at them as separate issues. We are in a kind of call-out culture at the moment. You've got to have such a thick skin to be a content creator because you're going to make something with the best of intentions and people are still going to go, you didn't do this, Yeah. So there's also that to balance. It's really hard. And yeah, so it's that kind of balance of going, well, yeah, I want to tell my stories and I want to do that in my way. I might recognize something else and go, oh, that speaks to me, so I want to tell that story. But if you're going to do that, then you need to collaborate with the people from that community. Dealing with the call-out culture. Oh, it's so hard. It's a really good question. I am really grateful to people in the industry who call people out. I personally am a bit chicken and not that confrontational. So when other people call things out, I sort of go, nothing changes unless, like, I can mumble and grumble about it in my living room, but if nothing will change unless it's kind of called out. Having said that, it is a really, like, frequently ugly space to be in. Like, what I try and do, if at all possible, is more a call-in culture. And even that is really hard because it means that you have to, go have a conversation with that person to go, hey, you know how you're doing this thing? Like, it could be interpreted like this, and can you see how, and taking a gentle approach so that they stay open and don't get defensive or feel like they've been attacked in reverse. But look, it's really hard. That means that you have to have a relationship with them. You have to have mutual respect for each other in order to be able to do the call in. And you have to have a strong constitution, because you might do call in and then they'll say one thing, you'll get triggered and you'll end up having a go at them. So you've got to be so, like, healthy, to be able to have that conversation. So I don't know, I guess it's up to every individual to go, where does my value system draw the line? Am I going to sign that petition online and put my name to it? Or am I going to comment on this online? Or am I going to have a private conversation when I feel well and healthy and strong enough, to have that conversation? Everyone's got to figure that out for themselves.
Hey guys, thanks for hanging with us on the Convo couch, and thank you to Pearl for coming along.
Thank you very much.
Don't forget to check out her links below and subscribe too. See you next time.
Bye. Okay, so if you're young and you're starting out in this industry, I would say you're incredibly lucky to have a whole pile of technology at your fingertips. So grab whatever technology you have and just make stuff. Do what these guys are doing on the Convo couch, and just practice your craft and watch Australian stuff. Make sure you know the industry that you're getting into. If you want an overseas niche, like, watch that stuff, be familiar with that content so that you're part of the conversation and that you're speaking to something wider and bigger than yourself. So you can check out my YouTube series, Minority Box. What else have I got? Like, I've got a bunch of stuff, but I don't need to plug myself. People will find me. It's okay. Or you can, if you want to know more about me, you can head to my website. It's just www.pearltan.com. See you there.
Running for Prime Minister in the year 2020, what would your slogan be?
2020 Prime Minister. Call Penny Wong.